I'm Dr. Anthony Harper, blessed to be with Father Pavone, and thank you for joining me, Father Pavone. And for our listeners, many are really interested about recently how the Holy See and the Catholic Church treated you and why. So, what would your response be?
Yes, well, we are Priests for Life is the largest pro-life ministry in the Catholic Church, and we've been working for 30 years in helping the church to respond more effectively to end abortion. Any reform movement is going to face pushback from the institution it's trying to reform. And so although we've worked positively with the hierarchy in many different ways, including the popes, we have had certain bishops who have opposed us. It's been over 2 decades of battling with certain of these bishops, and they've tried to block my work in various ways. A lot of people find that incomprehensible. They say there's nothing wrong with this work. We're saving lives. We're healing people from the wounds of abortion. We have the largest ministry in the world for doing that, and we're electing pro-life candidates. So what they've done is through a series of some of deliberate lies, and we've got it all documented through a series of just opposing and criticizing our work. They've convinced the Holy Father to sign off on a document that's saying that I can't be a priest anymore. This is not a surprise to us. This is, as I say, has been an ongoing battle. What's lacking is the justification for doing that. You do that when somebody has committed some very wrong actions, not when they're just trying to get the church to be a little stronger on a teaching that is at the core of the church.
Mm-hmm. Well, how would you? What was your major concern about the Pope's position on the sanctity of life and marriage?
Well, Pope Francis, like any pope, is one of the titles of the Pope is Vicar of Christ. A vicar, that's a referential term. So he's not there to preach his own gospel or share his own ideas. It's Jesus Christ who's the Lord of the church. And on the sanctity of life, on the issue of abortion specifically, which is my focus, he has said some very good and strong things. He has not contradicted in his teaching what the official teaching of the church is. However, some of the actions that he's taken, not least among which is action against me, actions appointing certain people at the Vatican who are not fully opposed to abortion, have confused people. And, a leader is supposed to lead not just with his words, but also with his actions. And all I'm saying here, without knowing what's going on in the mind and heart of the man, is that the people have been confused and distressed. So there's that. On marriage, likewise, in fact, even more so, because a lot of his writings have, again, created dispute and clouded rather than clarified a lot of issues. So that's one of the things we're dealing with in the Catholic Church. But as I say to people, look, what you have to focus on is, what do the scriptures teach? Mm-hmm. As the church always taught down through the centuries. This is not something we reinvent every day. It's something we've received. Like St. Paul says, hold fast to the faith that you have received. It's an historical accomplished fact. It's not a teaching that's in the making as time goes on. And some of these religious leaders today have more of the idea that, well, this is a teaching that is evolving as we go on. I think we can say we deepen our understanding of the teaching as time goes on. We deepen our effectiveness in getting new ways of communicating the teaching. But as far as the teaching itself, you can't get better than the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's what we have to be proclaiming.
Well, what really got a lot of attention was Biden's meeting with the Pope.
Yeah,
and there was conversations, and maybe the Biden himself saying that he is a good Catholic, or maybe that the Pope said he's a good Catholic, but directly in violation of the teachings of the Catholic Church on the sanctity of life.
Yeah, this is I think also one of the points of concern that some of these bishops have about me. I have been very, very critical of Biden, very, very critical of the Democrat Party, but not in a way that in any sense is unjustified by Catholic teaching. And yet we see a lack of discipline. It's a constant drumbeat of complaints from the people of God that, if the Catholic Church is serious about ending abortion, why isn't it disciplining not only a person who is promoting it, but a person who is promoting it and claiming to be a Catholic, like Joe Biden does, like Nancy Pelosi does. And again, those actions that cause confusion have been on display. Let's welcome these people to the Rome and let's give them communion, and on it goes. No, we need, and of course we have the counter witness too. People like my friend Archbishop Cordileone of San Francisco. He took some strong actions and words in regard to Nancy Pelosi, who lives in his archdiocese. So we've got a mixed picture, but again, the teaching we've received is pretty clear. Abortion is inconsistent, not only with the Catholic faith and receiving communion, it's inconsistent with our humanity. We don't kill our babies.
Okay, well, sometimes people are criticized for their support of presidents. I know that President Trump was very supportive of the sanctity of life and attended the March for Life, but yet Biden didn't do that. So how would you contrast Biden and Trump on the matters of sanctity of life?
I would say it this way, Dr. Harper, that President Trump was the greatest friend of the unborn. President Biden is the greatest enemy of the unborn. And that's borne out in their words as well as their actions. President Trump gave us the reversal of Roe v. Wade through the Supreme Court justices he appointed. In fact, he predicted what happened in 2016 in October, before he was elected. Then candidate Donald Trump said, if I get to appoint 2 or 3 justices for the Supreme Court, the reversal of Roe v. Wade will happen automatically, because he knew the type of justices he would appoint. And he told us the type of justices, that is, those who stay with the Constitution, don't invent rights that aren't there. Biden, on the other hand, is not only in favor of Roe v. Wade, he's pushing to codify it. In other words, what the court said in its decision, which has now been discredited and discarded, he wants to put into law. Of course, Congress would have to do that. They don't have the support in Congress, especially now that the Republicans have the House. But speaking of President Biden directly himself, that's the track he's on. Let's make, and when you say codify Roe, what they're talking about is abortion without restrictions right through the time of birth. The American people have never bought into that. The American people do not believe in that. And somehow he and the Democrat Party do. Big difference. There couldn't be a bigger difference between the Trump position and the Biden position.
Well, our audience would be in support of Trump a little bit more on several issues, because he most likely would not have signed the so-called Respect for Marriage Act, which our audience see as the Disrespect for Marriage Act. But Biden clearly celebrated this disrespect for marriage. So
he sure did. You remember when he was vice president, how he actually presided over a gay marriage in the White House, and this is something that one can say he's contradicting his own Catholic faith, the Christian gospel, but it's even broader than that. It's humanity from the very beginning has acknowledged that the marriage is a man and a woman. So no, it's very sad to see the discarding of a very central aspect of civilization here.
Yeah. Thank you for your responses on these questions. How has your uphill journey as a priest for life been?
Well, it's been very joyful because the people of God who are sacrificing for the unborn, sacrificing, first of all, in their own lives to welcome new life, especially when it's inconvenient, who are praying, who are educating, who are marching in these marches for life, praying at abortion facilities, counseling in the pregnancy centers, providing help for those and healing for those who have had abortions, and on it goes with all the different types of activity. They've inspired me. I've had a unique position because 30 years focused just on this issue, traveling around. I travel 4 or 5 trips a week. And so I'm always on the road. I get to rub shoulders with the activists on the ground, filled with faith, overflowing with energy, and that energizes me. So that's been the plus. The minus, of course, we get persecution from Planned Parenthood, from the abortion movement, but nowhere near as much persecution as we get from those in the church who are supposed to be encouraging us, but aren't. Many do. I do have a lot of support, but the uphill battle has been that you have some, like one bishop told me one time, you're too aggressive on abortion. Well, I'm not sure even exactly what that means, but I said, well, as soon as abortion stops being aggressive on the little babies that it dismembers, then you come and talk to me. But meanwhile, there's an atrocity much worse than we even realize. So, it's kind of like that. It's a style of leadership, it seems to me, where it's like, oh, let's not get anyone upset. Let's not be aggressive. But I take a very different approach. It's like, come on, we got to get in there and fight. And I think that's the more biblical approach. We get in there and fight, contend for the faith, fight for the gospel, work for the kingdom. You're working against enemies. It's a war. And spiritual armor, St. Paul talks to us about. And they're more like, sitting back and relaxing. Everything, has to be nice and rosy. That is another one of the reasons why it's an uphill battle only with those kinds of people. In reality, the pro-life movement, we're going from victory to victory. We just had the big victory over Roe v. Wade. And so in that sense, it may be uphill, but we're making it to the top.
Our audience also sees that Trump was more in support of marriage, the respect for biblical marriage and the life of the child than Biden. Would you agree?
Much more. Polar opposites, I would say. And there's another dimension in that too, as you know, Dr. Harper, that the President Trump was, besides being the greatest defender of life, the greatest defender of religious freedom. So in the matter of both marriage and the unborn, the other side doesn't just want their positions to prevail. They want our positions to be shut out. They want us to shut up. And there's the refusal to recognize the freedom of conscience and the freedom of religion. For example, you see it in the difference that the Trump and the Biden administration take to, for example, a case out of Vermont where a nurse was forced to perform an abortion. And it's like, whoa, hold on a second. The law already protects her right not to get involved in that, but medical institution in Vermont violated that right. The Trump administration defended her. The Biden administration did not. They dropped the case. So it's like, and it's going to be the same thing with the church now with this Disrespect of Marriage Act. It's really taking aim at religious freedom. Now, our freedom to look at and conduct weddings in line with the Christian biblical teaching that it's one man, one woman for life. And it's like, what are we now going to be punished because we believe that? That's un-American.
What's next for you?
Well, I'm going to continue in my pro-life leadership. Despite this action from the Vatican, it does not stop me from being a pro-life leader. Again, in union with the church. I'm a Catholic. I'll always be, united with the church. But I'm also going to knock on the door and ask the Pope to reinstate my full priesthood, and if he doesn't do it, I'll ask the next pope, for as long as it takes. But priest for life is fine. We have when we say priest for life, we're not talking about me. We're talking about thousands of priests around the country who rely on our guidance and our encouragement. We're going to keep guiding and encouraging them. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep saving lives, healing hearts, and electing pro-life candidates till we end abortion. And so I encourage everyone to connect with us. Endabortion.us is our website, endabortion.us. And I'm blessed to have a team, a board, a staff that's united with me 1,000% and ready to carry this mission forward.
Yeah, Dr. Alveda King has been involved with you on several March for Life issues. So I know that she would want me to say hello to you. And
yes.
What's your message for Dr. Alveda King? And she's been a real wonderful support of the child's right to life.
She's been a close friend and ally. In fact, she's a member of our board, and she was a member of our team for 16 years. She and I go way back, and my message for her would be, continue being the voice that says that when we talk about civil rights, they begin in the womb. They begin with life. And I always encourage Dr. King to keep speaking that message in the circles of her own family and the civil rights movement that is connected with her uncle, because unfortunately, many of them have the wrong position on abortion. And Alveda and I have been at the National Memorial on the Martin Luther King holiday every year at Ebenezer Baptist in Atlanta. And it's like great speeches about equality and nonviolence, except that most of the time they're forgetting to include the unborn child in that. And I encourage Alveda to just keep brave in those circles in which she and her family travel. Keep bravely witnessing to those people that the unborn have to be included in that equality and in that nonviolence.
I really enjoyed Dr. Alveda King's book about America returned to God, and she's calling for a time of repentance.
It's beautiful, isn't it? She always has such a spirit of faith and a spirit of love, conducting these great battles that we're talking about in that spirit of the love of Christ.
Well, once again, your website for more information?
endabortion.us.
Okay. Well, Father Pavone, it's so wonderful to have you join us on this matter. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.